Everybody, welcome to Selling to the CIO podcast and Selling to the CIO, the book. No, I don't have 15 minutes to chat. Welcome back to the show, Randy, my co-author of the book and who we did the first podcast with before we had video. And, Randy's hot to trot right now. He's been annoyed by sales reps lately. So he reached out and said, hey, I want to talk to you about some things that are going to derail a sales rep. So I know you're on fire and want to share some of your wisdom. How you doing, Randy?
I'm doing well, David. How are you?
I'm great. You always entertain me. You know, I get to listen to a lot of voicemails and read a lot of LinkedIn messages with these reps tactics and, stuff that it's at least you read them and you listen, but you just find it entertaining. And so we gotta educate these folks on how to do it better, right?
I don't underestimate this. Is selling is a hard profession, and it takes it takes a special person, a special skill to do that. The thing that always floors me is how many people are just so bad at doing it, and that their organizations, basically kind of release them into the wild with such tactics, techniques, absolutely lack of forethought in any of this. It's just like, taking somebody out to basically, play a professional sport, if you will, and you've never even seen how the game is played, and to expect some level of competency. It's mind-boggling, and unfortunately, that the noise, as I think we've sort of, you and I have talked about for years, right? The noise that it creates in sort of the system, it makes it harder for the message of the individual that has the skill set to break through, but it also creates the window of opportunity to be differentiated. So there's ways that it makes it harder, and then how do you lean in and leverage that?
You brought up a point. When I went to school, there was no sales major, right? I always knew that I was going to be selling something. I don't know, whatever it might be. But my daughter's a sophomore in school now, and she's actually she's going on down a sales major track, which is pretty awesome. So so now they're offering in colleges. So I'm like, oh, this is fantastic. They're going to educate I hope they're going to educate these kids on like what the point you just made, like how to do it right, not releasing them into the wild to just do it the wrong way and just have sales managers breathing down their throat or just sell, call, this. And it's just not the right way to do it. So let's be hopeful that some of these curriculums that they're building in college now are doing it the right way, so they can make it better and easier for all of us long term, right?
Yeah, I just on that point, I mean, in a lot of ways, it's like, since they're not investing in helping them sort of with a strategy, they really are effectively just sort of, resources that they're just going to turn over and churn over and over and over again. And so we know there's better ways to do this. But as long as I suppose there's an endless supply of resources that can turn over, what will compel an organization to do that, to invest? And that's, those are great questions for sales leaders like yourself.
Maybe the schools will hire us to teach a class, right? I think we could benefit some of these folks. So who knows?
So I'm just curious, before we sort of kick in with some of the questions, though, but from that standpoint, like, you've worked in a number of, brand name organizations. Mm-hmm. You have sold to big brand name accounts, company names that everyone in America is familiar with. Mm-hmm. So, what's the lack of the mindset? And we know you're in a different place. So what's the mindset that you bring into that sales function to basically be able to swim or survive in that sort of jungle?
It's a good question, right?
And not just survive, but thrive.
I tell people this all the time, right? If a lot of these companies that are hiring these younger sales folks, right, are just throwing them into the fire, like you said, and all they want them to do is produce, and they'll do anything to try to get a meeting into, necessarily embarrass themselves or burn bridges, which you cannot do in this industry, because it is a small world when you come to it. So I'm I guess, as I got older and became into management, I just became, and I understand what it takes to be successful, especially in some of these larger enterprise accounts like yours, where you work, is that you need patience. You have to, it's a marathon, and it's a marathon because you have to do things the right way to secure the meeting and to build the relationship with that CIO or that VP or that director or anybody who you're trying to sell to. It takes time and it marinates. So if you're with one of these organizations that's just pushing, 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 and they don't give a shit about anything else, and they don't care because it's not them, right? It's the person that works for them. It's that's what I suggest to folks. Go somewhere where they're going to be patient, and they're going to teach you to do it the right way, and they're going to give you some time, right? Because I know time is precious, and a lot of companies aren't willing to give it, but they're out there. There are ones that do it the right way. So I always say, if you have an opportunity to work for a boss, you may go somewhere that you're going to get more money, but if your boss is an asshole, it's not worth it. So go somewhere where, I guess, patience is what I try to teach it, and I know it takes a while. So I try to relay that to my team. Does
So
that make sense?
between sort of transaction and relationship, there's an ingredient called patience, but you need more than patience, right? You need an organization that's willing to sort of pave a runway out in front of you, coach you and guide you to get to that point. So by the time you get to the end of the runway, you can take off and be sustainable.
A lot of these companies don't do that. They don't invest in the training aspect. They just, they hire somebody and they expect results right away, right? Because and they'll throw as much shit against the wall to see what sticks. And they're, hey, all right, I'm going to keep hiring until, which is such a waste of time. And it's very difficult to do. And there's a lot of resources to keep doing that. So put something together that then do it the right way in the beginning. So there's some long-term success in the end.
So I guess, I see that the result of that, which manifests in this 100 times a week that I get, which is, hey, want to come meet with you, want to have a conversation, want to learn about your projects, want to learn about your organization. That is not my burden. And so this comes through, with the overwhelming majority of sales approaches, which is, hey, customer, you take your time to educate me so I can turn around and tell you I can sell to you. And it blows my mind. Sorry, but that's not the way it works.
Well, you can get that tip and more right here, right? So sorry. So I know you just entertain me a lot because you get passionate about this, right? Because I do think in the end you want to make folks like myself and my team and everybody else who's trying to get into your door, educate them a little better, right? But some of the stuff, the world class, end to end, so I know some of those are some of your favorite terms. Can you expand on that a little bit more?
Okay, so I mean, a subset of these folks as well. When you finally, have an opportunity for them where sort of some contact is made, whether through this, the trick, which is I'll call after hours and see if he picks up, but whatever way and whatever fate brought two people together in this sort of salesperson and CIO opportunity, so many of them in that moment also then blow it by having these nonsense comfort words, if you will, where they say, well, okay, tell me about your firm. Well, we're a world class, end to end, solution provider. And I ask, what does that even mean, that you're a world-class provider? And all it means, it's literally the same language. Well, it just means we're world-class, we're the best. Oh, got it. So you're the best. Okay, excellent. Well, that clears things up. Now that I
Well,
know
they should have a certificate that says that, because there's a certification for that, don't you know? World class. So come on.
or end to end. So we're an end to end provider. What does that even mean? So they have no ability to sort of back that up, nor have they ever even inquired in their own minds, like, how is this going to play out? And that sort of that dog food that I'm going to feed in terms of these nonsense words to you, that I'm going to basically say that you've now reached some sort of acceptable condition or a threshold at which you will now do business with me. Oh, and by the way, your 99 other fellow compatriots are also going to use that same framing with me over the next week. So zero differentiation. So like, what is it, if you're going to have that opportunity, that actually differentiates you from the 50,000 other companies that actually do the same thing that you do?
I don't know what to say.
Yeah. Let me give you one more example. This is great. I love this one. So occasionally, you get connected with, someone who's in the people sourcing space. And I will say, when you ask them about what makes you different, every one of them says, well, the bench of people we have access to. And I was saying, and how is your bench of people you have access to completely different than the bench of access that everyone else has access to? And then they say, well, we built our network up over a number of years. So, okay, and how is that compared to every other firm that's built their network up over a number of years that says the same thing? So, again, there's these nonsense comfort words that actually have no meaning, and it is a huge derailer. So put on your thinking caps and start planning about what is it you're going to say when you get that opportunity to be in the elevator for 60 seconds with someone, to leave that differentiated perspective. Think about it.
That's perfect, because I was going to ask you, all right, what do we do, right? You seem you're pretty fired up this week, because I'm sure you've gotten, it seems like you may have gotten more calls, maybe 150 calls when you usually only get 100, that have fired you up, and I love it. So also, I know another thing that bothers you is these exclusive type webinars that you get invited to, right? So tell us a little bit more
And
about that.
as I've shared with you, right?
Yeah.
Here we are on a Friday early evening, and this week I have probably gotten somewhere in the range of 20 exclusive webinar invites, and every invitation is exclusive. So also, what does that mean? It's exclusive to what? Because I'm a CIO. There's 80,000 CIOs that exist. So this nonsense of creating some sort of exclusivity, that I'm somehow special, or that there's scarcity, which is register now, and I always get, right, 5 seats remaining for these sorts of things constantly around that. So we don't work on scarcity. We don't operate on this exclusivity. We operate based on when we have legitimate needs. So throwing that noise out, and then emailing us too. This is always interesting. When you get the email, which is webinar 10 days away, and then the next day 9 days away and 8 days away, you have derailed yourself so far away by basically effectively producing sort of a harassment structure through email. It doesn't work. We're going to basically navigate our way to things that have interest, will propel the direction in which we're interested in engaging with you.
So it sounds like a sales rep might have some success if they call you and go, well, Randall, I love when they say Randall when it's Randy, right? So we're going to invite you to this shitty seminar, and maybe just not use the world class and end to end. Just tell them they could be honest, right? We suck at everything except for this, right? And this isn't going to be world class, but we think you might like it. Maybe change the script for you specifically, potentially. But no, I know this bothers. I've talked to several folks, and obviously in your role, and it's very similar. It's the same stuff that we're trying to do every day to try to get into your back pocket and just get some dialogue going. So we're at the 14-minute mark, and I know we can talk all day long about this. Can you leave us with something positive? What's working these days? What will just give us one little tidbit. We'll get another one in a couple of weeks from now, but just leave us with something in this beginning of March as we come into the nicer weather. What do you got?
Well, let's put our hats on as if we were on our jerseys on, if we were on the sales side, for a moment. And let's think about, there's a practical reality that, right, everybody has to eat, and CIOs have to buy technology, right? So
Yeah.
like that's a basic human need right over here and a basic CIO need. So no matter what, right, we still have to buy. We still got to build services that deliver solutions. And your point around like what's the one thing that you're good at? And if you have that patience to construct the relationship and that one thing, and frankly, right, that piece is like, you know what, CIO, at some point you are going to be in need for this and you're going to be interested in understanding the market. And when that day comes, I just want to be on your radar to to have you think about calling me. But to be on your radar, I'm not going to email you every week or every month or every time your company, hires a new person. I don't need to know that because as a derailer, put yourself on the radar in a professional way, build a relationship, and make a periodic connection that's not weekly, but give it 6 months, give it 12 months, and just remind it. And then other techniques that we've outlined in the book. There's a whole series of things that we've outlined in the book that can help you make small, smart, strategic moves that allow you to actually then paint a larger, bigger strategic opportunity for yourself as you progress in this jungle. So be smart, effectively, if you're so inclined, pick up a copy of the book and use those little nuggets to get smarter.
Well, that was well said. That was a beautiful tidbit of advice to give. So, Randy, I always appreciate my time with you. I got some good laughs, and I thank you for that because a lot of the stuff you described I've done in my past, right? So I probably still do some of it now, but it's always refreshing to hear it from the horse's
There's
mouth.
hope.
So
You're giving everybody hope
we're trying. We're
that you
trying.
can grow.
We're trying. With that said, have a wonderful evening, Randy. Have a good weekend. Thank you as always. Some good weather's coming our way soon, hopefully up here in the Northeast. And be well. I appreciate
Yeah. All right,
everything.
David. Thank you. Have a good night.